Council urged to adopt a human rights-based homelessness plan. Striking grain inspectors tee off on the plan to replace them. And government's paying millions to bring Volkswagen to Ontario. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Thunder Bay City Council is being asked to adopt a human rights-based approach when responding to issues concerning homelessness in the city.
That recommendation is on Monday's council agenda. It's noted that this approach falls in line with the city's strategic plan. Vasilios Bellis is following this story and joins us live in studio with the details. Vasilios?
Thanks, Riley. The new recommended response to unsheltered homelessness focuses on establishing a care plan for those individuals and connecting them to stable housing. The report that Council will discuss on Monday mentions this approach as a way to meet some of the city's already established priorities, which includes reducing Indigenous homelessness by 50% by 2027. Thunder Bay City Council will debate on Monday whether to adopt a new way of responding to unsheltered homelessness. It includes a human rights-based approach, which focuses on community partners visiting encampments. Once communication has been established, these partners coordinate care plans for those living in encampments and work to secure stable housing for these individuals. Elevate NWO's Holly Govan, whose organization carries out similar efforts, says this would be an important step for the city in addressing this difficult issue.
I feel that the report that's going forward represents a really supportive approach. It won't be perfect, but homelessness isn't perfect, and so working in that environment is tough for everybody. But we're looking forward to a good conversation with City Council this week.
The report also stresses community consultation moving forward to find solutions. Groups identified include those living in encampments, Indigenous leadership, and community partners. Govan believes these conversations will be important for years to come, as homelessness is a constantly evolving issue.
This is not the end of it, right? We're going to continue to have to revisit this plan every single year to make sure that we're keeping up with new trends and new things that we're seeing and constantly pivoting to address the needs of this really underserved community.
The recommendation to adopt these protocols includes adding a $20,000 expansion to the 2024 capital budget. Our newsroom did reach out to the city for an interview on the homelessness report coming to council. Officials did respond, but said they'd prefer to comment after Monday's meeting. Vasilios Bellis, TBT News.
Last month's groundbreaking ceremony for the new indoor tennis bubble at Chapels Park had many in the community excited to be able to play the sport year-round. But there are still a few more steps before shovels can get in the ground, including finalizing the land lease with the city. While there's no timeline for work to begin, Thunder Bay Community Tennis Center officials say discussions with the city have been productive. There was hope in the community that this would be the last winter without tennis, and the 6-court indoor facility would be finished this construction season. Project lead Pasi Pinta says it's tough to say when the lease will be finalized, but he remains hopeful work can begin shortly.
Of course, everybody wants to go as quickly and as smoothly as possible. It'll take the time that it needs for due diligence. I hate to put a date on it. I guess we would love nothing more than to be able to take advantage of the building construction season of 2023.
TBT News reached out to the city regarding the status of the lease, but was told the lead spokesperson for the project won't be available until early May.
Dryden OPP are on the scene of a serious collision just east of that community. Few details are available at this hour, but Highway 17 has been closed since about 1 o'clock this afternoon. The highway was shut down all the way to Chappaqua at one point, but is now only closed between Thunder Lake and Norwick. Meanwhile, several other highways were closed today due to poor weather conditions, including Highway 622 between Atikokan and Ignace, and Highway 502 between Dryden and Fort Frances. Those routes are now reopened.
The local president of the Public Service Alliance of Canada takes issue with the Trudeau government allowing grain elevators to hire private grain inspectors while their union is on a nationwide strike. Aaron Swerdlick says the exemption goes against the government's own anti-scab legislation announced last fall that won't be introduced until the end of this year.
So it's really disappointed. I was actually here in Ottawa in 2022 when Seamus O'Regan announced the proposal to ban replacement workers in the federal regulated workplaces. So when we found out that this same government was actually allowing third-party companies to replace federal grain inspectors during the ongoing strike, it was extremely disappointing for us.
As we first told you on the NewsHour yesterday, local elevators are now using 2 private firms to inspect grain for ocean-going vessels, work that's normally done by federal grain inspectors represented by PSAC. Swerdlick says his members are impartial, but he believes private firms have a conflict of interest because they're hired by the grain elevator companies. Swerdlick also points out that his members were deemed essential during the pandemic, and now they're not.
We were risking our lives, the lives of our family, to make sure that the grain kept flowing out of this country and was properly inspected and weighed. And now, 2 years later, when there's a job action, somehow we're not essential. The government needs to make up its mind. If we're essential workers, then deem us essential and have us there. And if we're not essential, then they should not be hiring scabs to replace us in time of job action.
About 300 local PSAC members from various federal departments have been walking picket lines here locally since Wednesday. Swerdlick says the government isn't working seriously to get a deal. He'll remain in Ottawa with the bargaining committee until an agreement can be reached.
Local MPP Lise Voisjois questioned the Ford government at Queen's Park this week about families of those in senior homes being issued trespass notices for complaining about the quality of their loved ones' care.
That happened in Ottawa in 2019 and in Peterborough in 2021, but government House Leader Paul Calandra insists that stopped when the government passed the Fixing Long-Term Care Act.
Far too often, when caregivers make complaints about poor standards of care, facility operators retaliate by using the Ontario Trespass Act illegally to permanently ban entrance to family members. Will this government ensure that care home operators cannot hide from accountability by using the Trespass Act to punish patients and their loved ones?
Mr. Speaker, we learned during COVID how important it was that that family and friends are able to visit their loved ones in long-term care homes across the province of Ontario, and that's why we enshrined that within the Residents' Bill of Rights. Mr. Speaker, we made the commitment to ensure that it is within the Fixing Long-Term Care Act. We've actually gone a step further, Mr. Speaker. We've ensured that every single home across the province of Ontario hosts the Residents' Bill of Rights right within every single long-term care home across the province.
Students at Confederation College attended a drilling demonstration right on their own campus today. 2 firms were on site offering students a chance to see the process. A local engineering firm was hired by Confederation to drill for soil samples ahead of the construction of a new building on campus. The drilling is part of a geotechnical investigation and survey performed by CSL and Maple Leaf Drilling. One of CSL's engineers is a graduate of the college program and says the company saw this as an opportunity to share valuable skills and possibly attract new talent. Several students were on hand to learn about how it all works.
We just did a project in materials testing on borehole drilling, so to see it happen, it's been interesting to see them actually do the whole process.
We're doing borehole logs, so we've been learning about this throughout the semester in the program, and students are now getting to see the real-world application in our outdoor classroom today.
This is kind of an opener for them to be able to witness it and enjoy and experience geotechnical investigation and have an interest for this career.
Yeah, we're just drilling some boreholes for a new building that's going up. So we're just here with the students to show them how we classify soils, kind of testing that we do to give them some real-world knowledge of to make sense of what they're actually learning in school.
The building being constructed near the McIntyre River is part of the college's new Evergreen Outdoor Classroom project, which was announced in February.
We're more than a month into spring, according to the calendar. But you'd never know it with all the snow that fell on the city this week.
Yeah, Thunder Bay residents found themselves digging out of their driveways once again after last night's storm dropped another 5 to 10 centimeters of heavy, wet snow. But as Mike Lang reports, some people aren't as fed up as you might think.
This was the scene that many Thunder Bay residents woke up to this morning after Thursday's overnight storm. That meant yet another day of shoveling and snowblowing as locals cleared the additional snow that ended up on their driveways thanks to snowplows and last night's strong winds. Another spring snowfall also meant more snow that was wet and sticky, making it more difficult to move.
I don't like it too much. It's really wet and heavy to shovel. And you can't use your snowblower because the chute gets all iced up and won't throw it out. So anyways, but thank God we're not having floods and everything else. So
I don't like it. It's springtime. It should be melted by now. But we keep getting more and more.
On the other hand, some residents we spoke to had a different perspective on the winter weather extending a full month into spring.
Well, it's not that bad, but this is a country that we have snow, so we have to shovel it.
With that being said, May is less than 10 days away, and many are looking forward to more of the 15-degree weather that warmed the city 2 weeks ago.
Are you looking forward to spring?
I sure am. Some of my garden is looking forward to it too. So
What are you looking forward to the most about spring?
Cutting grass and stuff like that, and going camping.
On the bright side, literally, the sun has been poking through the clouds throughout parts of the afternoon, and it has warmed up to the point where you can start seeing the grass on people's lawns, as you can tell right behind me. So while the snow made it this far into April once again, at least it appears as though the wet, sticky white stuff won't be sticking around for much longer. Mike Lang, TBT News.
Fiona, I think Mike may be vying for your job.
I think so, too.
Hopefully he's right, though. I hope this is the last of it because, yes, that snow was awfully heavy. The little bit of it that I did have to clear away to get out of my driveway this morning.
Yes, it was indeed. And Mike, yes, you can have my job if we keep having these kinds of forecasts. Makes it tough to live in this town. But today, as he said, temperatures rose after an overnight low of 0, which is why that snow was so wet and heavy, because it just couldn't freeze and get all the air and to keep it nice and light. We also warmed up to 4 Celsius. So we did still have some precipitation today, but it came in the form of rain and helped to wash some of it away. Winds were relatively light to moderate, 7 to 21 kilometers per hour from the east-southeast under mostly cloudy skies. Now to the west, Fort Frances also didn't have a very cold night. They're currently right on the freezing mark at 0, but they are still expecting a little bit more snow. As we head up into Kenora and Dryden, they're just below the freezing mark. Red Lake back on the plus side under mostly cloudy skies. They did have quite a bit of blowing snow throughout the day, but it seems to be making its way out of the region. As they head further east, you can see the temperatures start to drop again. -1 in Sioux Lookout, -2 in Armstrong, -1 in Greenstone. They too have had light snow for most of the day. Along the lakeshore, they're on the plus side. And then we hit Sault Ste. Marie, and yeah, that's 10 Celsius under mostly cloudy skies. In fact, that is their high for the day. Temperatures have been rising steadily since about midnight last night. Now, here in the city of Thunder Bay tonight, we will slip just below the freezing mark again. And, oh, that should be wind chill, not, I don't know what SC would stand for, but wind chill of -1. 1 to 2 centimeters of wet snow is still possible in the overnight hours. And that's because we're not completely clear of the system just yet. And tomorrow, there's still a chance first thing in the morning as well as the system continues to move out. Now behind it, it's still fairly chilly. It's still going to be well below normal for this time of year for the weekend. but we should be out of the worst of it. I'll have more details on the temperatures you're going to see later on in the NewsHour.
Okay, thanks a lot, Fiona. Well, is it a government handout or an effective way to stimulate the Canadian economy? The Canadian government is handing out billions to Volkswagen to secure a massive new facility here in Ontario. We'll have all the details when your Friday News Hour continues after this.
Congratulations from our side for outperforming the competition and bringing this gigafactory to St. Thomas. That wasn't easy.